I hear a lot from newer sellers struggling to find brands to work with, as evidenced on these many messages. I get it. It seems frustrating when most people are struggling to find brands. Then another subset of sellers seems to be getting brands at will, not even having enough money to spend for all the great brand direct accounts. Why are some sellers having such great success while other sellers are not? In this video, I'm going to attempt to break down the differences between a successful seller and an unsuccessful seller with what types of brands that they're trying to contact. So I am actually one of the few people teaching Amazon wholesale, but also doing Amazon wholesale on a big scale. I'm still actively talking to brands, bringing new brands into my pipeline, and I am in the trenches every day, living this stuff as well. Listen up, and hopefully you guys get some value out of this video. This video, I'm going to show you how to find good brands to contact. I did a similar video a year ago for 2025, but now the Smart Scout software has changed a little bit, and I'm actually going to add a second bonus method, how to find suppliers through looking at other sellers as well. So before we begin, I'm just going to show you guys why you may want to listen. The last year, I've sold over $26 million of product on Amazon US, only nearly 1 million units ordered. And this was all coming from brands that I have acquired through the years using Smart Scout, storefront stocking, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to show you the best method on how to identify brands that have the right criteria and may actually want to work with you instead of telling you immediately no. And I'm also going to show you how to emulate what brands other successful sellers are selling right now and kind of fast tracking our way towards those. So let's hop back into Smart Scout and I'll show you how to find these brands. So here's the Smart Scout dashboard. It's changed around a little bit recently, but basically you want to go to the left and go for brands. So yeah, this one here, market data, brands. And what Smart Scout does is organize the entire Amazon catalog by brand. So let me actually just hop onto a listing and I'll show you how it does that. So if you see on an Amazon listing, visit the Apple store or, whatever store that a brand may have. That is, so Smart Scout will take all the listings categorized under that brand and kind of compile them into one organized place. So these are all the ASINs under the brand, and then it will also break down who the sellers are, what subcategories they're in, et cetera, and a bunch of other stuff I won't go into in this video. But that's kind of how it does it. So it organizes the entire catalog. It gets the brand name of all these listings and then puts it into one place in a really organized fashion, which is great. So the reason this helps, you can filter brands by certain criteria. So certain revenue ranges, brands that only have several third-party resellers on them, brands that are growing, or perhaps brands that are shrinking, brands with a certain price point, certain number of SKUs, anything you really want, it'll filter down brands to your exact criteria, which is exactly what we're going to do right now. I have a very comprehensive program that goes into all this stuff. If you want to talk about that with a team member, you can certainly do that using the link below this video. So if we go up to filters here, I'll walk you through these. So you can, there's even a pre-made one called the Wholesale Opportunity, which has some basic criteria, but you can save whatever filters you want and name them. You can search for specific brand names, but I don't really do that. Brand score, I usually leave that alone. Main category. So this would be one if you are specialized in a category or want to just choose a single category, or you can leave it wide open. I'll just select home and kitchen just to narrow the results down a bit. And estimated monthly revenue. So this is an interesting one. So you don't really want to target brands with enormous amounts of revenue if you're trying to do brand direct wholesale. If you are open to buying from distributors as well, there really isn't any cap. I mean, that you can buy brands that are selling tens of millions a month through distributors, in which case you may want to leave that cap alone. But if you're looking specifically for brand direct relationships where you are buying directly from the brand and eventually want to go for an exclusive deal, then you're probably going to want to go after small brands up to maybe medium-sized brands. So that's why I personally like to cap the revenue if I'm looking to buy directly from brands. If I'm looking for just general products to buy through distributors, I probably will leave this alone. But let's pretend today that we're going just after brand direct deals. So I'll put the minimum revenue on Amazon as 10,000. What that means to me is that, let's say I even had the exclusive on it in pretty short order, and let's say there's a 20% profit margin. that exclusive would net me $2,000 a month, which is kind of my minimum for me to even want to touch something. But if you're brand new, you could even bring that down to like 1,000, 2,000, whatever. Just like brands that are barely on Amazon or just getting started, those are going to be the easiest brands to get because it's likely it's just kind of like mom and pop, and Amazon's just an afterthought for them. And if they come across someone like you who wants to help them with their listings, they'd be more open to it. Whereas a brand with $500,000 of sales already has probably been approached 50 times by various Amazon sellers. Maybe they have an in-house e-com person. They're a little bit more sophisticated. So it depends on where you're at in your Amazon journey. If you're already a big seller or have a lot of capital or a lot of connections, you could you go after bigger brands. But if you're newer, I would probably go for like the 10,000 to 100,000 of revenue, maybe even 50. But you can play around with this. I mean, if it doesn't yield enough results, widen it. If it yields too much, you can get a little more specific. If you want to be at certain price points, you can put that in. If you only want to sell products that are $30 or more or $50 or more, this could come into play if you use a prep center. It's pretty hard to sell, $6, $7, $8 items profitably. If you're paying a prep center 50 cents to $1 per unit to prep, that can often be your whole profit. So if you wanted to stay away from brands that are under, let's say, $15, so you can, pay a prep center and still be profitable, you can do that here. Average number of FBA sellers. This is an important one because a lot of brands will have 1 or 2 FBA sellers, which usually means Amazon is selling or the brand is selling directly or they have an exclusive. And those are brands you want to skip over. So you want to work with brands that are already working with like 5+ Amazon sellers, maybe 3, but we'll start with 5. And I'll just leave the max open, although you could cap it at like 15 or 20 if you want to get rid of some like maybe brands that are arbitraged and have like 50 sellers on them. But I'll just put a minimum 5 here. No dominant seller necessarily, although I will say dominant seller sales percentage. It would be good that no single seller is taking more than 50% of all the sales, because that could be indicative of an exclusive where there's just other sellers selling, but they shouldn't be, or perhaps someone trying to get an exclusive, or just in general, a seller where you may have difficulty getting buy box against. Amazon in-stock rate. I want to avoid Amazon, so I don't want them in stock more than 30% of the year. Rating, I mean, you could sell products that are minimum 4-star, 3.5-star. Selling really poorly rated products could get you in trouble and could have very high return rates, but I typically just leave that blank. And then you can target brands that are rapidly growing if you wanted to. I typically leave that blank, and I'm just going to filter that out. And it's possible my filters were a little too tight, maybe in revenue ranges, or like there's a lot of things we can loosen up, but it did yield four brands to look at. So let's go ahead and look at those. So let's first look at the products. Well, actually, I like to look at the sellers. So you can see who the sellers are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 8 or 9 sellers, and the buy box is being rotated fairly equally. And then we can go into a few products. So I'm just going to open up a couple of these just to see what they are, any type of indication of whether there's map or, anything like that. So yeah, it looks like according to this Keep It chart, price is kind of bouncing all over the place, $63 and then 76 and back to 64. So a little bit of price instability. It looks like it has stabilized a bit at exactly $76.99. So this is probably a company with a MAP policy that sellers are now starting to follow. Looks like it could be somewhat seasonal as well, because it's like a Christmas situation. So as you can see, 100 units sold during December. It's probably going to settle back down throughout the year. And then you can kind of get a feel for what the stuff is. This one did a lot better. It sold like over 400 units in December. So it's called Joseph's Studio. It says Joseph Studio by Roman, so Roman might be like a parent brand. So I'm just going to Google that. Yeah, so it's on Roman's website. So to get this account, you would probably need to get the Roman Wholesale account, which you'd have to inquire through the website on there. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I go through that in more depth in a different video, but this is a potential lead. Now let's look at the next one, Anchor Powdered Milk, and it looks like there are a lot of sellers. Buy box is rotating evenly. Let's take a look at what this is. Okay, milk powder, 2.5 kilograms. This is interesting. So price kind of eroded over time, went back up. Bunch of sellers got on it all of a sudden, which is a little odd. It might have been some distributor who got a bunch of stock and just distributed out to a bunch of people. And then all of a sudden, a huge drop. That could be IP complaints or a listing restriction. I would imagine probably a listing restriction. But interestingly, the seller count has not gone back up. So they might still be restricted, or it could be an IP complaint. I'm really not sure, but that gives me a little bit of pause there. At least that listing. We can check out another one. Yeah, this one looks a lot better. Pretty stable price, 300-400 sales a month across 5 sellers. So this is interesting. Looks like there's, I think, Chinese, maybe Japanese characters. I think Chinese. So this could be like an import situation, but I see a brand name. So this can be a way to figure out who the manufacturer is. On the product packaging, as you can see, it says Fonterra, Dairy for Life, Fonterra.com. So you could go to that website and then inquire for a wholesale account and kind of read about who they are. Usually there will be some sort of like contact form or wholesale link. How can I become a Fonterra vendor? There we go. Easy enough. Interesting. We are New Zealand Co-op. Getting a supplier account, vendor registration. Here we go. So I would follow the steps and see what the deal is with purchasing. Perhaps they'll refer you to a US-based distributor if you don't want to import from abroad. But there you have it. Let's do maybe one more K-pop merch. That sounds fun. Looks like it's just one product. And it looks like these might be Korean storefronts, but yeah, Korean. So this could be a little bit tough to break in. Yeah, like all Korean stores. I'd probably just skip over this personally, but so we'll try the last one. This also looks like a bunch of Korean sellers, and one is almost at 50%, so probably skip over that too. So this obviously didn't yield many results, but that's no problem. All you have to do is open up the revenue ranges, maybe bring this average FBA sellers down to like 3 or 4, maybe increase this from 50 to 70, maybe have Amazon be able to be in stock half the time. So there's a lot of things you can do to yield more results. You can also switch the category up. But yeah, if you loosen the filters a bit, you'll get lists of like hundreds of brands. So that's method one. And then now I'm going to show you something I didn't show you in last year's video, which is looking at sellers. So just like I teach stocking different storefronts on Amazon.com and looking at their products, which is still a very valid method, you can sometimes fast track your way to like stock certain types of sellers that meet criteria that you want. So let's say you want to look at Amazon sellers out there that are in the $10,000 to $500,000 a month revenue range. So like that's going to filter out mega sellers, and it's going to have more like beginner friendly sellers to stock that might have more beginner friendly brands that they're working with. So let's do that. And then full brand coverage. You want to see like, they're selling at least 5 brands. And let's say they're selling at least 50 ASINs. I wish there were more filters like this, like that like would say like average number of sellers on their brands or something, because that would filter out a lot of private label sellers. But yeah, this is a good starting point just to see a bunch of sellers, and then you can filter by like their category too. So let's say you want to just look at grocery sellers. Whoops, I did this wrong. Oh, that's because I'm in subcategory. Okay. All right. So let's say you just want grocery sellers. You want to focus on grocery. You can look at all these sellers here that are probably wholesale sellers, but could be brand owners too. So I'm just going in here, and then I want to start with brand coverage, because this is a way that you're going to distinguish who's private label versus who's a reseller. So estimated brand share, as you can see, this United Olive Oil Import Corporation, they have 88% brand share on this, 100% on this, 90% on this. So these are probably exclusive arrangements if they're not even the brand owner themselves, in which case I would skip over this as a store to stock, because these are brands that are already dominated by this one seller. Let's go to eSavings Shop. Okay, this is more like what we're looking for. So they're clearly not like the brand owner. Maybe this Vina Cafe, they have an exclusive. They have 100% of the brand share, but everything else they're at like 19%, 6%, 20%. So that's kind of what we want to see. Now we have all of a sudden a list of brand leads, and then we can go to this brand here, and then we can see like who the sellers are. So Amazon's on this 44% of the time, which isn't great, but it's enough to keep looking, because there are a bunch of sellers still doing, significant percentages. And I mean, even 8% of this brand, 55K revenue, let's say at 20% margin, I mean, this store is probably making $10,000 a month profit off off just 8% of this brand. So even these like sliver percentages are definitely nothing to sneeze at. So this is the brand. Interesting. Looks like Amazon's the only seller on that really hot seller. So that might be difficult. But sometimes you can find like 2-packs, 3-packs to sell on where Amazon's not on it. So here's one with some more sellers. Calmoseptine.com. Okay. And this is kind of a website you kind of want to see because it's like an older website. It's not like amazingly polished and whatnot. So often these are the types of brands that will like actually send you a price list pretty easily, showing what trade shows they'll be at. There's another rabbit hole. Like, look at all these. Now you have a whole list of trade shows. So that's kind of what I like about doing all this work. Like it'll just lead you to more and more and more stuff. It's like basically never ending. But yeah, let's see. Healthcare professionals. This might be one of these brands that will only sell to healthcare professionals, in which case you might need an account with like a medical distributor, but nevertheless worth contacting them. If you can get your hands on this product, sounds like it'll be pretty lucrative. Let's go back to eSaving Shop brand coverage. Let's see if there's anything else. Tops, that's like trading cards. I don't want to go in there. Carnalicious, 72% of the brand. Probably not something I'm interested in. Looks like they might have exclusive. I don't know what this is. Some sort of Vietnamese thing. Let's see. I'm going to minimize myself here on Loom. There we go. Like Vietnamese coffee. Interesting. And let's see who the sellers are on this. Okay, it looks like the brand sells themselves, so that might be something to rule out. But often you'd be surprised if the brand is like on the listing and there's like 6 or 7 other sellers. A lot of times they don't care and they'll still sell to you, and they even know you're selling alongside them, or they might not even have the ability to enforce it or anything. But so it might be worth a contact. I want to just check out what it is. Oops, where am I here? Offers. There we go. So I really like looking at the packaging and seeing if there's like manufacturer info. Okay, so it's like instant coffee packages. Shouldn't be too hard to find this website. Trung Nguyen Legend. Okay, here's the official USA website. Contact us. Okay, you'd reach out there and be like interested in a wholesale account, et cetera, et cetera. So as you can see briefly, like, this is just one seller. I would pick through their brands that like, look like they could be viable opportunities, and then go to the next one. Whole basket, again, looks like something that could be good. Looks like they might have an exclusive on one brand or it's their own brand, but these other ones, they have like 30, 40%, 23%. One more seller we'll look at their brand coverage. This one looks good as well. 8%, 4%, 22%, a lot of different brands to contact. They're on 155 different brands. So, I mean, if you're just starting out, let's say you just have a few grand. I mean, you actually don't even want to look at these really high revenue ones. I mean, you certainly can, but like all this stuff, like these might be good opportunities for you to do just like $1,000 order for like these relatively unknown brands here, and get your wholesale journey started. So as you can see, the seller method is also pretty cool, and it might get you some brand leads that you wouldn't have found just through filtering brands directly. So that's kind of a bonus method for 26 and beyond. And Smart Scout's always coming out with new features, so I like to play around and see different ways to use it to find brand leads. But that's the basic way to use it, which is just, the Cliff's Notes to summarize everything. It's like brands with multiple FBA sellers on them of a certain revenue range, like 10,000 to 100,000, and whatever category of you're choosing, ideally brands that are growing. And, if you play with those filters, you should have thousands and thousands of brands to go through. So hopefully this video was helpful. And even if you don't, got nothing else out of this video, you can at least get a discounted Smart Scout membership. I have an affiliate deal with them, which can get you a free trial, and I think a significant percentage off the first few months. So if you want to experiment for yourself, try this software to get some brand leads. There's a link below this video. I just want to leave a parting note of encouragement for you guys. Even if you do have great strategies, you're still going to encounter some no's. I still encounter some no's. You have to stay persistent. And I'd say probably the biggest thing that separates someone from having a successful Amazon wholesale business and someone who just throws in the towel and gives up is that persistence and that willingness to talk to brands and have uncomfortable conversations. But if you can break through that, then you're almost guaranteed to land accounts and have success long term. Speaking of success, I have hundreds of students in my program, and just a couple that stand out to me recently. John Carlo, he's in Canada, And he went from flipping sneakers to actually taking his business really seriously, and now is doing $200,000 of revenue doing brand direct wholesale. My other student, Teresa, she was going through local wholesalers and distributors, kind of getting stuck, and she has successfully landed 10 plus brand direct accounts, getting away from distributors into direct brand authorization. And there are countless other success stories, and I want you to be the next one. In my community, we go through every part of the sales process. So finding good brands to contact, like you just saw in this video, how to contact them, how to maintain the relationships, how to analyze products, how to scale your business and make sure you're in stock of those products. And basically, my goal is to leave no stone unturned. So if there's ever any sort of gap in knowledge in the pre-made course and community, I ensure that we cover that gap and we provide all the answers for every single thing you need in this business to succeed. So if this sounds interesting to you, click the link below. Someone from my team can go over what we offer in more detail and see if we're a good fit for each other. And I hope to see you in the program. And if not, that's okay too. I'm still going to be providing free value through these YouTube videos. So make sure to like the video, subscribe, and you'll get a lot more free game in your YouTube. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.